Imagine if the greatest chapters of human history were not carved in stone or written on scrolls, but preserved in a realm far more vast and silent. Imagine if long before our recognized cradles of civilization, long before the earliest known cities rose on dry land, another world already carried the weight of history, a world that now lies hidden beneath the waves. This is the story of our planet's oceans, not as empty expanses, but as the deepest archives of humanity's forgotten past. For all our exploration, for all our maps and satellite imagery, the oceans remain largely uncharted depths. We have sent rovers to distant planets and probes to the edges of our solar system, yet vast stretches of our own seafloor remain as mysterious as any alien landscape. More than 80% of the ocean floor has yet to be properly mapped, its contours, valleys and mountains shrouded in perpetual darkness. It is an environment of crushing pressure, freezing temperatures and lightless plains, far more alien to us than the surface of the moon. And in this immense, unexplored territory lie countless possibilities, secrets that have been protected by the very immensity of the water column above them. We send down our submersibles and remote vehicles, mere pinpricks of light in an unfathomable abyss, revealing fleeting glimpses of geological wonders and strange, resilient life forms. But what else might be down there, lost not to cosmic distances, but to the more profound depths of time and water? What could these uncharted depths be guarding, patiently waiting for the technology and insight required to bring their stories to light? The sheer scale of what remains unknown is staggering, a testament to the ocean's power as a keeper of secrets, a silent, colossal vault beneath the very air we breathe. It compels us to consider that the greatest discoveries about our own past may not be found under desert sands, but under miles of cold, dark water, a world away from human touch. Beneath the ceaseless motion of the waves, the oceans conceal histories far grander than we often dare to imagine. They are vast, fluid museums preserving fragments of existence from epochs long past. While wind and rain erode monuments on land and tectonic plates recycle continents, the deep ocean often acts as a slow, deliberate archivist. Sediment builds layer upon layer, gently encasing and shielding whatever once settled on its floor, preserving it in a kind of suspended animation. This protective embrace has shrouded entire epochs of our planet's story, allowing traces of biological life, and perhaps something more, to endure for eons. The conditions that make deep-sea exploration so challenging, the lack of oxygen, the cold, the darkness, are also the very conditions that can prevent decay, slowing the relentless march of time to a crawl. What kinds of narratives then are buried within these abyssal plains? Not only the chronicles of geological change or the evolution of marine species, but potentially the very fabric of human enterprise. Cities, settlements, pathways and artifacts, once thriving on ancient coastlines, now submerged by ancient deluges, could rest silently, perfectly preserved, far from the reach of human memory. These concealed histories challenge our perception of the past, suggesting that our understanding is incomplete, built upon a fraction of what once was. The ocean does not yield its stories easily. It holds them close, allowing only glimpses, whispering its truths in the form of strange anomalies or indistinct echoes from sonar. But each fragment, each whisper, reminds us that the narrative of our world and of humanity is far richer and more intricate than the terrestrial record alone can convey. This leads us directly into the heart of the matter, the submerged mysteries that lie hidden from our current gaze. These are not merely shipwrecks, though those too offer poignant glimpses into past human endeavors. We speak of something far older, far more foundational. What if entire landscapes, once teeming with human activity, now lie entombed beneath the waves? As sea levels rose and fell over millennia, driven by glacial cycles, vast continental shelves that were once dry land became submerged. These were fertile plains, river valleys, and coastal regions, precisely the places where early human communities would have thrived. We know these landmasses existed. Geological surveys confirm their presence. What we don't know is what they contained, what traces of human habitation might remain. The thought alone is staggering, that entire civilizations, or at least advanced cultures, that predated our current historical timelines could have been swallowed by the sea. They would exist as submerged mysteries, vast archaeological sites on a scale unimaginable on land. Imagine cities lost to a slow, inexorable rise of water, their structures remaining largely intact, perhaps even protected by the very water that claimed them. Or imagine the remains of ancient ports, trade routes, or sacred sites, frozen in time on the seabed. These mysteries beckon us not just with the promise of discovery, but with the profound implication that our collective memory of history is missing vast, crucial chapters. They force us to confront the possibility that the blank spaces on our nautical charts might not be empty at all, but filled with the silent, waiting remnants of worlds we have long forgotten. And if such extensive submerged mysteries exist, then our timeline is not the beginning at all, but only the continuation of something much older. Stay with this thought because it changes everything about how we understand where we come from. The conventional timeline of human civilization, taught in schools and preserved in textbooks, generally places the advent of complex societies, agriculture, and monumental architecture within the last 10,000 to 12,000 years, a period often beginning after the last ice age. But this timeline is built almost entirely upon evidence found on dry land. What if this is a profound limitation, a terrestrial bias that blinds us to a much deeper, more complex past? During the last glacial maximum, approximately 20,000 years ago, global sea levels were as much as 400 feet lower than they are today. This exposed enormous tracts of land, entire coastlines, river deltas, and land bridges that are now submerged beneath shallow seas. These fertile coastal regions would have been ideal for early human settlement, rich in resources and ripe for the development of sophisticated cultures. The gradual warming and melting of glaciers over thousands of years led to a dramatic and relentless rise in sea level, inexorably inundating these ancient lands. If civilizations, even in nascent forms, existed in these now submerged regions, then their ruins, their tools, their very existence would lie beyond the reach of conventional archaeology. Our current understanding of prehistory, particularly the transition from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled communities, could be fundamentally incomplete. We might be missing the very foundations upon which later terrestrial civilizations were built. The idea of challenging conventional timelines is not merely academic, it has profound implications for our self-perception. It suggests that our ancestors may have been far more advanced, far more organized, and far more numerous in earlier eras than we currently credit them for. Their knowledge, their technologies, and their social structures could have vanished beneath the waves, leaving only fragmented myths and tantalizing anomalies on land as echoes of their existence. This challenges the linear progression we often assume for human development, opening the door to the possibility of cycles of advancement and decline, of forgotten golden ages preceding our own. The ocean, in its silent immensity, holds the potential to rewrite the very narrative of human emergence, pushing back the known boundaries of our ingenuity and sophistication by tens of thousands of years. This notion naturally leads us to humanity's forgotten origins, a concept that stretches beyond mere chronology to the very essence of who we are. If the conventional timeline is incomplete, then our origins, the first sparks of complex human societies, might lie not in the familiar valleys of Mesopotamia or the Fertile Crescent, but in ancient lands swallowed by the ocean. Imagine not just earlier settlements, but entire lineages of sophisticated people, with their own languages, art, and understanding of the world, whose existence has been utterly erased from our collective memory. These forgotten origins would explain some of the most puzzling anomalies found on dry land, megalithic structures of incredible precision appearing seemingly out of nowhere, advanced astronomical knowledge attributed to cultures we consider primitive, or universal flood myths speaking of global catastrophes. Perhaps these are not mere coincidences, but fragmented memories whispered down through generations, of a time when the world was vastly different, and our ancestors were forced to adapt to unimaginable changes. The very idea of forgotten origins forces us to re-evaluate what it means to be civilized. Did the spark of innovation, the drive to build and organize, begin much earlier, in environments that no longer exist? Were there societies that achieved remarkable feats of engineering or navigation, only to have their achievements buried by the relentless rise of the seas? Such a revelation would humble us, reminding us that our present civilization is but one iteration in a much longer, more cyclical story. It would suggest that the foundations of human ingenuity might be far deeper, drawing from a well of knowledge accumulated by those who came before us, whose world now lies submerged. These forgotten origins are not just about finding older ruins. They are about finding a deeper sense of continuity, a lost heritage that connects us to a past far richer and more enigmatic than our textbooks currently allow. They suggest that the seeds of our modern world were sown not just on land, but in fertile, now submerged landscapes, nurtured by societies whose very names have been swallowed by the ocean's depths, waiting patiently to be rediscovered and to reshape our entire understanding of human history. For as long as we have sailed its surface, the ocean has maintained a silent narrative. It does not speak in words, nor does it write in stone, but it tells its story through the ebb and flow of tides, the sculpting of coastlines, and the deep, dark preservation of its floor. It is a chronicle written in sediment, in the slow accumulation of time, in the fossilized remains of ancient life, and perhaps in the enduring structures of forgotten worlds. This silent narrative has, until now, been largely beyond our comprehension, its pages inaccessible to all but a few dedicated explorers. The ocean has witnessed the entirety of Earth's history, from the first single-celled organisms to the rise and fall of countless species, and eventually the emergence of humanity. It has seen continents shift, mountains rise, and climates transform. And through all these eons, it has held its secrets, absorbing the changes, protecting its archives from the harsh realities of the surface world. The deep ocean is the ultimate repository, a vast, taciturn librarian holding knowledge that could redefine our understanding of everything. It is a dynamic, living system, yet also a powerful preserver, offering a contrasting record to the terrestrial one. While land-based archaeology grapples with erosion, human interference, and the constant recycling of geological processes, the deep ocean often provides a stable, low-energy environment where delicate structures can persist for astonishing lengths of time. Its narrative is patient, waiting for us to develop the tools, the courage, and the intellectual humility to listen. Each ripple, each current, each grain of sand contributes to this ongoing silent story. And as our technology advances, allowing us to delve deeper, map with greater precision, and interact with this alien world, we begin to decode these ancient messages. The ocean's silent narrative is not one of a blank slate, but of a meticulously maintained historical record, one that challenges us to look beyond the surface, to dive into the profound depths of its memory, and to finally piece together the full, untold story of our shared origins. It is a story that, once fully understood, will undoubtedly redefine our place in the long and winding tapestry of Earth's civilizations. High above the deep trenches of the Pacific, where the sun finally reaches the clear waters off the Ryukyu Islands of Japan, lies a mystery unlike any other. It was the mid-1980s when a local diver searching for hammerhead sharks near the island of Yonaguni stumbled upon something extraordinary. Not a natural reef, not a collection of ordinary rocks, but a colossal structure rising from the seabed, seemingly carved with impossible precision. This discovery would soon become known as the Yonaguni Monument, a submerged enigma that has defied easy explanation for decades. The first impression of the Yonaguni Monument is one of overwhelming scale and bewildering order. Descending into its depths, divers are confronted with an immense tiered structure, roughly 150 meters long and 40 meters wide. It resembles a vast stepped pyramid or a monumental arena. What immediately strikes observers and fuels the enduring debate is the uncanny regularity of its features. Here are straight lines that stretch for tens of meters, sharp, 90-degree angles that seem too perfect to be natural, and flat, expansive terraces that appear meticulously cut. There are even what look like carved steps ascending in perfect symmetry, leading to a large, flat platform. Beyond these primary features, other details intensify the puzzle. Deep channels run across the formation, resembling irrigation ditches or pathways. Triangular depressions are carved into the rock, alongside what some interpret as intricate drainage systems. There are curious circular holes and even carved relief features that some researchers identify as animal figures like turtles or fish, or even a human-like face. The sheer consistency of these geometric elements across such a vast structure challenges the intuitive understanding of natural geological processes. While erosion shapes coastlines and forms caves, it rarely creates such consistent architectural forms on this scale. The stone of Yonaguni, primarily sandstone, is known to fracture along straight lines, but to produce such a grand, coherent design purely by chance seems to many an almost statistical impossibility. It stands as a silent sentinel, a stone guardian lost to the sea, compelling us to question its origins, and so the stage is set for a profound scientific and archaeological debate. Is the Yonaguni Monument a spectacular natural phenomenon, or is it the remnants of an ancient, forgotten civilization? For decades, geologists and marine archaeologists have fiercely contested its genesis, each side presenting compelling arguments. Those who contend that Yonaguni is a natural formation point to the geology of the region. The island of Yonaguni itself is part of a tectonically active zone. Earthquakes and seismic shifts are common, and the local sandstone is prone to fracturing in distinct parallel lines, known as bedding planes. Geologists like Robert Schoch argue that these natural processes, combined with centuries of erosion from powerful ocean currents, could sculpt the rock into seemingly artificial shapes. They emphasize that while some features appear straight or angular, they are not perfectly so. Slight irregularities can be found upon closer inspection, which align more closely with natural rock fracturing than with precise tool work. Furthermore, they highlight other geological formations in the region that exhibit similar, albeit less dramatic, geometric patterns. Water, over immense periods, can be a master sculptor, carving soft rock into forms that deceive the human eye, leading to a phenomenon where we tend to see patterns and even faces, where none are intentionally created, a cognitive bias known as pareidolia. However, the arguments for a man-made origin are equally compelling, if not more provocative. Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, has spent decades studying the monument, making over 100 dives to meticulously map and analyze its structures. His conclusion is unequivocal. Yonaguni is an artificial structure, or at the very least, a naturally occurring formation that has been dramatically modified by human hands. Kimura and his supporters point to the sheer complexity and regularity of the features that appear to defy natural explanation. They highlight the clear corners, the precise 90-degree angles of walls, and the multiple interconnected terraces and staircases that seem to follow a deliberate hierarchical design. He argues that while sandstone does fracture, it does not do so in such a perfectly ordered and systematic manner across such a vast area, incorporating elements like specific paths and platforms. Further evidence cited by proponents of the artificial theory includes what appear to be chisel marks, grooves and even drill holes suggesting the use of tools. They also point to a massive circular depression, too perfect for natural erosion, and a large carved stone animal head that seems distinct from the surrounding rock. These features, they argue, go beyond mere suggestion. They represent clear evidence of deliberate carving and construction. The scale of such an undertaking, even if it involved modifying existing rock formations, would have required an immense level of engineering, organization, and a sophisticated understanding of stone masonry. The debate thus hinges not merely on what we see, but on how we interpret the subtle, yet persistent, whispers of design in a world often attributed solely to chance. If the Yonaguni monument is indeed a product of human intervention, its submerged location raises questions that fundamentally challenge our understanding of ancient history. The structure currently rests at depths ranging from 5 to 25 meters below the surface. This fact is crucial because it directly connects to the planet's dramatic past, specifically the last ice age during the last glacial maximum, which peaked around 20,000 years ago. Vast quantities of Earth's water were locked up in massive ice sheets, causing global sea levels to drop by as much as 120 meters. At that time, many coastal areas and shallower continental shelves that are now submerged were exposed land. If the Yonaguni monument was constructed by humans, it must have been built when it was above water. This places its potential creation date squarely in a period often considered beyond the reach of complex engineering and large-scale architectural projects by ancient human societies. Current archaeological timelines suggest that humans were still living in relatively simple hunter-gatherer societies during the Ice Age. The development of advanced stone-cutting, quarrying, and construction techniques, such as those implied by Yonaguni's scale and precision, are typically associated with the rise of Neolithic cultures, which began much later, around 10,000 years ago, following the end of the Ice Age and the adoption of agriculture. To find evidence of such sophisticated pre-Ice Age engineering in the Pacific would be to push back the known timeline of civilization by tens of thousands of years. It would imply that complex, organized societies with the capacity for monumental construction existed long before we ever thought possible, building structures that rival some of the earliest known temples and cities on dry land. The implications are staggering. It suggests that our historical narrative, painstakingly constructed from terrestrial ruins, might be missing an entire, profound chapter. The sheer effort required to carve or modify such a massive structure would necessitate a well-organized labor force, advanced planning, and a mastery of tools and techniques that conventional archaeology attributes to much later eras. The submergence of Yonaguni by the gradual post-glacial sea level rise means that if it is man-made, it represents a direct, physical testament to an engineering prowess that flourished in an epoch we largely consider primitive. Such a discovery would not merely add another site to the archaeological record, it would compel us to re-evaluate the entire story of humanity's technological and social evolution, forcing us to consider a world where advanced builders navigated an exposed landscape that now lies hidden beneath the waves. If Yonaguni is indeed a relic of a lost era, it raises a tantalizing question. Who were the builders? Where did they come from? And what became of their culture? The answers to these questions reach deep into the speculative realm of lost Pacific cultures and ancient Japanese seafaring. Conventional history depicts early human migrations into the Japanese archipelago and across the Pacific as largely coastal movements using rudimentary boats, primarily following land bridges exposed during the Ice Age. Yet, the possibility of the Yonaguni monument suggests a far more advanced capability. If a society built or carved such a structure tens of thousands of years ago, they would have possessed not only sophisticated engineering skills, but also a profound understanding of their marine environment, perhaps even advanced navigation and seafaring technologies. These were island peoples, accustomed to the sea, who may have explored and settled vast expanses of what is now submerged land. This brings into focus the potential for lost Pacific cultures, entire civilizations that thrived on land masses that were once part of a larger, interconnected Pacific continent during the Ice Age. Imagine a time when islands like Yonaguni were part of a much larger land bridge connecting to mainland Asia, or were surrounded by extensive coastal plains. These were environments ripe for the development of complex societies. These cultures, shaped by their unique environments, could have developed distinct social structures, spiritual beliefs and technological innovations, all of which were lost as the ice sheets melted and the oceans reclaimed their territory. Their history, their achievements, their very existence would have been slowly erased by the rising waters, leaving only enigmatic structures like Yonaguni as their silent witnesses. The ancient Japanese themselves have a rich history intertwined with the sea, but their known historical periods do not stretch back tens of thousands of years with evidence of monumental construction. If Yonaguni is truly artificial, it implies a predecessor culture, an earlier wave of inhabitants, or a much deeper, unrecognized layer of the Jomon period's prehistoric past. This forgotten society would have organized labor, developed tools, and perhaps created a rich cultural tapestry that we can only begin to glimpse through the geometric forms of their submerged creation. They would have been engineers and artists, living in a landscape vastly different from the one we know today. Their lives defined by a coast that now forms the ocean floor. The Yonaguni monument thus acts as a gateway to imagining a forgotten world, a world populated by skilled builders and navigators whose civilizations were ultimately swallowed by the very waters that once sustained them. It forces us to acknowledge that our current historical map of humanity's past, especially in the vast and ancient Pacific, may be incomplete, dotted with question marks where entire cultures once flourished. The discovery compels us to look not only at the depths of the ocean, but also into the uncharted depths of human antiquity, questioning whether the architects of Yonaguni might represent a foundational, yet tragically lost chapter in our collective story. We have looked to the depths of the Pacific, where the towering structures of Yonaguni challenge our understanding of ancient engineering and the true age of human ingenuity. But the ocean's memory is not confined to one hemisphere. Its silent narrative stretches across the globe, holding secrets in every vast expanse of water. And so we turn our gaze eastward across the Americas to the other great blue expanse where a different kind of mystery lies submerged. We turn to the Atlantic. For generations, the Atlantic Ocean has been the stage for countless tales of lost worlds and forgotten civilizations. But few places have captured the imagination quite like a particular submerged anomaly near the Bahamian island of Bimini. Here, just off the coast, beneath the clear turquoise waters, lies a formation so strikingly regular, so uncannily deliberate in its arrangement, that it immediately provokes a profound question. What exactly are we looking at? This is the Bimini Road. Imagine diving into those gentle waters, expecting to see only scattered reefs and shifting sands. Instead, you encounter a perfect J-shaped pathway, meticulously laid out, stretching for hundreds of meters across the seabed. It is composed of enormous flat-topped blocks of limestone, some weighing many tons, fitting together with a precision that seems almost too perfect to be natural. The blocks are large, rectangular, and remarkably uniform, arranged in what appears to be a clear, linear progression, like a road, a quay, or even a collapsed wall. The sheer scale and apparent order of these formations demand attention. They do not scatter randomly like natural debris. They follow a path presenting themselves as a unified structure, inviting the mind to consider a purpose. For those who first encountered the Bimini Road in the late 1960s, the discovery immediately resonated with a prophecy made decades earlier by the American psychic Edgar Cayce. Kayse, known as the Sleeping Prophet, had predicted that in 1968 or 1969, evidence of Atlantis would rise in the Bimini area. He spoke of temples and ancient structures of a highly advanced civilization that predated known history. The discovery of the Bimini Road, seemingly on schedule, sent ripples of excitement through a world already fascinated by the legend of Atlantis. It was a tangible underwater feature that aligned uncannily with a specific prediction, transforming a nebulous myth into a potential archaeological reality. The legend of Atlantis itself is one of humanity's oldest and most persistent tales of a lost golden age. First described by Plato around 360 BCE, it spoke of a technologically advanced civilization, a powerful island empire that flourished thousands of years before his time, only to be swallowed by the sea in a single day and night of catastrophic floods and earthquakes. For centuries, Atlantis has been dismissed as pure fiction, a philosophical parable, or a cautionary tale. Yet, the story lingers because it touches upon a deeper human yearning, the idea that we are not the first, that a more sophisticated past may lie hidden, just beyond our reach, perhaps even beneath the very waves that now cover it. The Bimini Road, therefore, became more than just an interesting rock formation. It became a potential gateway to that Atlantean dream, a physical clue suggesting that the myth might contain a kernel of forgotten truth. But as with all such discoveries that challenge conventional timelines, the debate quickly crystallized. Was the Bimini Road a monumental feat of ancient engineering, a testament to a lost civilization, or was it simply another fascinating example of nature's capacity to create order out of chaos? Mainstream geology largely favors the latter explanation, viewing the Bimini Road as a natural phenomenon. The argument centers on the idea of beach rock, a type of sandstone that forms when sand and other sediments are cemented together by calcium carbonate, often in coastal intertidal zones. Geologists suggest that this beach rock, over millennia, could have fractured into rectangular blocks due to natural processes like wave action, seismic shifts, or erosion along ancient fault lines. They point to similar, albeit less striking formations found in other parts of the world. The ocean, after all, is a master sculptor, capable of forming intricate patterns and seemingly regular shapes through the relentless work of water and time. Yet, for those who see in the Bimini Road the hand of an intelligence, the natural explanations fall short. They argue that the remarkable uniformity of the blocks, their distinct angles, and the linear alignment that forms a clear pathway cannot be entirely attributed to random geological forces. While nature can create straight lines or right angles, the sheer persistence of these features over such a long stretch, combined with the way the blocks appear to be purposefully placed and joined, seems to demand a different explanation. It is the consistent regularity, the deliberate progression, and the apparent lack of typical natural chaotic scattering that distinguishes Bimini. If it were a collapsed wall or a paved thoroughfare, its form would naturally suggest a human or pre-human origin. The argument becomes one of statistical improbability. How likely is it that nature, through purely random processes, would produce such a convincing imitation of architecture? Beyond Bimini, the wider Atlantic also holds other submerged features that fuel the debate about forgotten pasts. From isolated anomalies found through sonar mapping to anecdotal accounts from divers, the ocean floor is slowly revealing structures that do not easily fit into our established geological record. Some report unusual mounds, geometric depressions, or formations that appear too linear or too symmetrical to be mere coincidence. While many of these are dismissed as optical illusions or natural rockfalls, their cumulative presence across the vastness of the Atlantic raises the enduring question. If one region can produce such a convincing road naturally, how many other seemingly artificial structures are simply awaiting reclassification as natural phenomena, or conversely as genuine archaeological sites? The sheer scale of the unexplored Atlantic seabed means that our current understanding of its submerged features is still profoundly incomplete, hinting at a potential treasure trove of hidden histories. The core of the Bimini debate, and indeed many of these underwater mysteries, hinges on the concept of regularity. What level of geometric order, what degree of linear arrangement is required before we classify a structure as engineered rather than natural? On land, the distinction is often clear. A stone wall is distinct from a rock slide. But underwater, subjected to millennia of erosion, marine growth, and shifting sediments, the lines blur. A wall becomes a ridge, a paved road becomes a collection of blocks, a sculpted platform becomes a natural terrace. The Bimini Road exists precisely on this blurred line. Its proponents highlight the consistent widths of the blocks, the apparent dressing of their surfaces, and the almost intentional curve of the road itself. They ask if the cumulative effect of these regularities points to design, even if individual blocks might be explained away. For the skeptics, any perceived order is merely a projection of the human mind, a tendency to see patterns where none are truly intended. They argue that given enough time and enough random geological processes, even highly improbable formations can emerge. If, however, the Bimini Road were to be definitively proven as an artificial structure, the implications would be nothing short of revolutionary. It would push back the timeline of advanced human or proto-human presence in the Atlantic by tens of thousands of years, predating known civilizations. It would suggest sophisticated seafaring capabilities and engineering knowledge at a time when conventional history tells us humanity was still largely nomadic and technologically rudimentary. Such a discovery would fundamentally rewrite the story of how and when complex societies first emerged, and it would place a forgotten chapter of human history squarely in the heart of the Atlantic. It would mean that ancient peoples were not just present in this region, but were actively shaping their environment, building structures that have endured for millennia beneath the sea. And this is where the Atlantean dream takes on a new dimension. If Bimini is indeed a man-made artifact, it does not automatically prove the existence of Plato's Atlantis, complete with its specific cities and advanced technologies. But it does provide a tangible, physical anchor to the idea that a significant, unknown civilization once existed in the Atlantic before the end of the last ice age. It moves the legend from the realm of pure fantasy into the sphere of plausible, albeit unproven, history. It invites us to consider that the great flood narratives found in cultures worldwide and the persistent tales of lost lands submerged by a great deluge may not be mere myth, but echoes of a genuine cataclysm that wiped away a past we are only now beginning to dimly perceive. The Bimini Road, whether natural wonder or ancient ruin, serves as a powerful reminder that our oceans may hold the final, definitive answers to humanity's most enduring questions about its own forgotten origins, pushing us to explore not just the depths, but the very boundaries of what we believe to be possible. While the arguments surrounding structures like the Bimini Road or the enigma of Yonaguni invite us to consider the blurry lines between natural formation and ancient artistry, there exist other underwater marvels that offer a more unequivocal testimony. These are not whispers of geology or shadows of legend, but concrete cities, their stones still echoing with human endeavor, undeniably swallowed by the sea. They stand as irrefutable chapters in a story of constant flux, where the very ground beneath our feet, or beneath the waves, shifts with geological time. Consider Dwarka a name that resonates deeply in India's ancient texts. For centuries it was believed to be merely a mythical city, the golden kingdom of Lord Krishna, mentioned in epic poems as a grand metropolis ultimately consumed by the ocean. Yet, in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, archaeological expeditions began to uncover something extraordinary. Off the coast of modern-day Dwarka, beneath the turbid waters of the Arabian Sea, sonar scans and subsequent dives revealed a sprawling underwater complex. Structures were found at depths of up to 130 feet, arranged in a grid-like pattern. Walls, pillars, and remnants of what appear to be ancient port facilities lay scattered across the seabed. Pottery shards, shell bangles, and even an ancient seal were recovered, hinting at a vibrant, organized society. The dating of these artifacts, some stretching back as far as 7,500 to 9,000 years, placed this underwater city squarely in a period far predating many established historical timelines. This was no geological anomaly. This was verifiable submerged archaeology, a city lost not to myth, but to the unrelenting processes of a changing planet. The discovery of Dwarka gave powerful credence to the ancient narratives, transforming legend into documented history. But Dwarka is not an isolated case. Across the globe, similar stories of cities lost to the waves are moving from the realm of fable to the undeniable facts of underwater discovery. One of the most spectacular examples is the rediscovery of Thonis Heracleion, a grand port city of ancient Egypt. For over 1,000 years, it was merely a name in obscure Greek texts and Egyptian hieroglyphs believed to be just another literary embellishment. Then, in 2000, a team of archaeologists working in Abu Qir Bay near Alexandria made an astonishing find. Beneath the waters, perfectly preserved by the silty seabed, lay the colossal remnants of a city. Giant statues of pharaohs and gods, sphinxes, countless gold coins, and everyday artifacts lay scattered where they had fallen. Temples, houses, and an elaborate system of canals confirmed it was Thonis Heracleion, a vital gateway to Egypt for millennia. Unlike Dwarka, Thonis Heracleion's demise was not quite as ancient, sinking sometime in the 8th century AD, but its fate speaks volumes about the dynamic relationship between human settlements and the Earth's processes. Its submergence was a gradual process, likely a combination of tectonic subsidence, the slow sinking of the land, and the unstable, silty soil upon which it was built, exacerbated by sea level changes and a series of devastating earthquakes and tsunamis. The preservation of Thonis Heracleion is a testament to the ocean's ability to act as a vast, silent archive, holding on to pieces of our past that surface history has long forgotten. These sites, Dwarka and Thonis Heracleion, stand as powerful reminders that cities do indeed sink, and that the stories of ancient peoples losing their lands to the sea are not merely cautionary tales. They represent the tangible evidence of profound geological and climatic shifts that have continuously reshaped our planet. One of the primary drivers behind such widespread submergence is the phenomenon of post-glacial sea level rise. For millions of years, Earth experienced cycles of glacial and interglacial periods. During the last ice age, which peaked around 20,000 years ago, vast quantities of the planet's water were locked up in massive ice sheets, some miles thick, covering much of North America, Europe, and Asia. This colossal accumulation of ice drastically lowered global sea levels, in some regions by as much as 400 feet, 120 meters, below present-day levels. As a result, coastlines extended far beyond what we know today. Entire continental shelves, now submerged, were once exposed landmasses fertile and ripe for human habitation. Then, as the Earth slowly began to warm, these immense ice sheets started to melt. Over a period of several millennia, from roughly 18,000 to 7,000 years ago, the meltwater flowed into the oceans, causing a dramatic and sustained rise in sea level. This was not a sudden cataclysmic event, but a relentless gradual inundation. For coastal communities, what was once dry land slowly became marsh, then shallow water, and eventually the open sea. This process, driven by vast climatic forces, forced populations to adapt, migrate, or face the slow, creeping loss of their homes and livelihoods. It explains why so many archaeological sites around the world, from the North Sea to the Persian Gulf, are now found underwater. These were not cities built for the sea, but but settlements abandoned as the sea advanced. The evidence is clear in the drowned river valleys, the submerged shorelines, and the undeniable human artifacts found dozens of meters below current ocean surfaces. This post-glacial sea level rise is a well-understood scientific reality, and its impact on human geography and settlement patterns was immense. Beyond global sea level fluctuations, localized geological forces also play a significant role in submerging coastal areas. Tectonic subsidence is one such powerful mechanism. The Earth's crust is not a solid, static shell. It is broken into massive plates that are in constant, albeit slow, motion. Where these plates meet, or where faults lie within them, land masses can slowly rise or sink. Subsidence occurs when a section of the Earth's crust gradually lowers, either due to the underlying rock settling, sediment compaction, or the slow-motion grinding of tectonic plates pulling apart or subducting. For cities built on tectonically active coastlines, this process can lead to gradual submergence, even if global sea levels remain stable. The very foundation of their existence slowly gives way, drawing them downwards into the embrace of the ocean. The fate of Thonis Heracleion, for instance, is often linked to the unstable deltic sediments it rested upon, compounded by tectonic activity in the eastern Mediterranean. Over centuries, the land beneath it slowly gave way, allowing the sea to reclaim the urban fabric. Coastal erosion dynamics represent another potent, constant threat to human settlements along the world's shorelines. This is the relentless work of waves, currents, and winds, gradually wearing away land and reshaping the contours of continents. Storm surges can dramatically accelerate this process, tearing away vast sections of coast in a single event. Over long periods, even seemingly stable cliffs and beaches can recede significantly. Ancient ports and coastal towns built close to the water for economic and strategic reasons are particularly vulnerable. The very forces that make these locations desirable, access to trade, rich fishing grounds, or defensive positions, also place them at the mercy of the sea's destructive power. Structures built of less durable materials, such as wood or adobe, would have been quickly obliterated, leaving little trace. Even stone foundations, if undermined by erosion, can collapse and scatter, eventually becoming indistinguishable from natural rock formations on the seabed. This constant battle between land and sea means that countless settlements, large and small, have been lost to the waves, not in a single catastrophic moment, but through a slow, inexorable process of attrition. It is against this backdrop of scientifically verifiable submergence, driven by post-glacial sea level rise, tectonic subsidence, and coastal erosion, that the enduring power of global flood narratives truly comes into focus. Almost every ancient culture, from Mesopotamia to the Americas, has a myth or legend describing a great flood that engulfed the world, or at least vast portions of it, often in divine retribution for human transgressions. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, the biblical account of Noah, the Hindu Puranas detailing the Matsya avatar, and countless indigenous stories from around the world all speak of a time when the waters rose, wiping clean the slate of civilization. For a long time, these were dismissed as mere fantastical tales, moral fables with no basis in historical fact. However, the discovery of verifiable submerged cities like Dwarka, coupled with the understanding of post-glacial sea level rise, offers a powerful new lens through which to interpret these ancient accounts. Could these global flood narratives be the distant, fragmented and mythologized memories of real events? As vast coastal plains were slowly inundated by the rising oceans after the last ice age, entire populations would have witnessed their ancestral lands disappear beneath the waves. The sheer scale and relentless nature of this inundation, occurring over generations, would have been deeply traumatic, indelibly etched into the collective consciousness. For peoples who relied on fixed landmarks and unchanging horizons, the continuous retreat of the land would have seemed like an unnatural, even apocalyptic event. It would have been a deluge in their lived experience, a profound disruption that forced migrations and fundamental changes to their way of life. The stories, passed down through oral tradition for thousands of years, would have undoubtedly evolved, acquiring mythical elements and theological interpretations. But their core remembrance of a time when the waters rose could be an echo of these very real geological processes, the archaeological proof of sites like Dwarka, and Thonis Heraklion provides the critical bridge between these ancient narratives and modern scientific understanding. They demonstrate that the Earth's surface is far from static, and that human civilizations have repeatedly faced, and often succumbed to, the overwhelming forces of nature. These discoveries underscore that the oceans are not merely empty expanses, but repositories of forgotten human endeavor. They validate the possibility that countless other cities and settlements, perhaps even older and more significant, lie hidden beneath the waves, waiting to be found. The very act of finding them, of confirming their existence through painstaking underwater excavation and meticulous dating, reshapes our perception of human resilience and vulnerability in the face of planetary change. Verifiable submerged archaeology, therefore, is more than just an academic exercise. It is a critical tool for understanding the true timeline and geographical spread of ancient human civilization. It forces us to confront the limitations of terrestrial archaeology, which can only explore the land that remains exposed. By expanding our search into the submerged territories of the continental shelves, we are opening up vast new chapters of human history. These underwater sites reveal not only where people lived, but how they adapted to their environments, how their cultures thrived on now-drowned coastlines, and how they responded to a world in constant geological and climatic transformation. Each recovered artifact, each mapped foundation, is a direct communication from a past that was thought to be lost forever. It is an opportunity to directly challenge and potentially revise our understanding of early human innovation, architectural prowess, and the interconnectedness of ancient societies. The deep sea, once considered an impassable barrier to historical discovery, is now yielding tangible proof of sophisticated human presence in epochs previously thought to be devoid of complex settlements. The confirmed existence of cities like Dwarka, which predates many of the supposed cradles of civilization on dry land, pushes the boundaries of our historical understanding. It suggests that advanced human communities were establishing themselves in coastal regions much earlier than conventional history typically acknowledges, thriving on land that would eventually be swallowed by the rising tides. These discoveries serve as anchors in the swirling currents of historical speculation, providing solid ground for the reconstruction of humanity's ancient past. They demonstrate unequivocally that the Earth's surface has been dynamically shaped by profound forces, and that human habitation has always been inextricably linked to these shifts. The legacy of the deluge is not merely a collection of flood myths. It is a visible, tangible record, etched in stone beneath the waves, of a world constantly in motion, and of the civilizations that rose and fell with its changing face. This profound realization that entire cities and cultures have simply vanished beneath the sea fundamentally shifts our perspective, compelling us to rechart humanity's past with an eye towards what was lost and what might yet be found. The verifiable archaeology of cities lost to the sea forces us to confront not just the reality of a world reshaped, but the profound question of who truly built these submerged monuments. For too long, the narrative of human history has been told as a linear progression, from primitive hunter-gatherers to agricultural societies, then to early cities, and finally to the scientific and technological age we inhabit. This story, etched into our textbooks and minds, assumes a steady, upward climb of intelligence and capability, but the evidence from beneath the waves compels us to re-examine that assumption. It invites us to consider a radical alternative, the existence of pre-diluvian civilizations. These are not merely communities that happen to be swallowed by rising tides. The concept of pre-Diluvian civilization suggests entire societies that existed before. The cataclysmic events of the last ice age melt societies that may have reached levels of sophistication we are only now beginning to fathom. If the great floods and sea level rises were indeed global phenomena, reshaping coastlines and deluging vast lands, then the world before these events would have been home to a human story far richer and more complex than we currently accept. It suggests that long before our conventional timelines place the emergence of complex cultures, another epoch of human endeavor may have thrived. This profound implication fundamentally challenges our understanding of humanity's antiquity, painting a picture of an earlier, perhaps forgotten, era of high civilization. This leads us to a crucial re-evaluation, rethinking technological antiquity. The conventional view holds that the advanced engineering and precise craftsmanship we associate with ancient marvels, pyramids, megalithic structures, intricate water systems, developed over time, culminating in the classical civilizations. But what if the origins of such knowledge are far more ancient? What if the techniques for shaping massive stone, for understanding astronomical alignments, or for managing complex hydraulic systems were not inventions of a single era, but a legacy inherited from an even older, submerged past? The sheer scale and precision observed in some underwater sites, even after millennia of erosion, hint at a level of technical mastery that seems out of place for the periods traditionally assigned to the birth of human ingenuity. We are forced to ask if the sophisticated tools and methods we attribute to later cultures might actually be echoes of technologies honed by builders whose civilizations now rest silently beneath the waves. To entertain this idea is to challenge linear progress itself. Our ingrained belief in humanity's continuous upward march of innovation becomes less certain. What if human history is not a straight line but a series of cycles punctuated by great cataclysms that periodically reset or severely diminish our collective knowledge? A pre-Diluvian age, if it harbored advanced civilizations, could represent a peak of human achievement that was then lost to a global deluge. The survivors, scattered and disoriented, would have carried only fragments of that past, leading to a slow and arduous process of relearning and rediscovery. This would explain the perplexing gaps in our historical record, the sudden appearance of complex technologies seemingly without precedent, and the universal myths of a golden age preceding a great flood. It suggests that the knowledge we pride ourselves on today might, in some ways, be a rediscovery of principles understood millennia ago by people whose very existence we have only just begun to consider. The question then becomes, what is the evidence of sophisticated engineering? Beyond the mere existence of submerged structures, certain features defy easy explanation within traditional historical frameworks. Imagine the immense effort, the profound understanding of material science, and the intricate planning required to construct colossal edifices that could withstand not only the elements of their time, but also the relentless pressures of a watery tomb for thousands of years. We see hints of this in massive stone blocks cut with a precision that rivals modern machinery, or in complex arrangements that appear to follow mathematical or astronomical principles. These are not crude utilitarian constructions. They speak to an aesthetic sensibility, a structural integrity, and an intellectual curiosity that we typically associate with much later periods of human development. The ability to move and precisely fit multi-ton stones, to orient structures to celestial events, or to design elaborate systems for managing water on a vast scale are hallmarks of an advanced culture. If such engineering exists beneath the ocean, it forces us to concede that our ancestors were capable of feats we have only recently replicated, or perhaps still struggle to understand. This re-evaluation brings us face to face with the lost golden age concept. For millennia, across diverse cultures and continents, humanity has whispered tales of a time when the world was different, when knowledge was abundant, and when people lived in harmony with profound wisdom. From Plato's vivid account of Atlantis to the Indian Yugas, the Mayan calendar cycles and the biblical narratives of Eden, a shared human memory seems to yearn for a period of elevated existence that was tragically interrupted. For generations, these tales have been dismissed as mere myth, allegories designed to teach moral lessons or explain the inexplicable. But if the submerged ruins are indeed the remnants of advanced pre-Diluvian civilizations, then these golden ages may not have been mere fantasy. They could be the deeply embedded collective memory of a technologically and spiritually sophisticated past, a time when humanity perhaps reached a zenith before nature's fury or unknown forces brought about its decline. This narrative shifts from myth to a potential historical reality, giving profound weight to the legends of our ancestors. Ultimately, the implications of these underwater discoveries are about redefining human origins. If sophisticated civilizations existed long before the Sumerians or the Egyptians, if technology and organized society had roots in an epoch we have barely acknowledged, then the very timeline of humanity must be completely rewritten. We are faced with the possibility that our current civilization is not the first, nor necessarily the most advanced, but simply the latest iteration in a long, perhaps cyclical story of human achievement. It asks us to consider whether we are the culmination of a linear progression or the inheritors of a fragmented legacy, slowly recovering knowledge that was once commonplace. This perspective changes everything about how we understand where we come from. It suggests a more ancient, more resilient, and perhaps more humbling narrative for our species. It challenges us to look beyond the accepted boundaries of history and to consider the oceans not as barriers, but as vast, silent archives holding the true, unwritten chapters of humanity's deepest past. And this is why the pursuit of these underwater ruins is not merely a quest for submerged cities, but a profound journey into the very heart of what it means to be human. The waters have always held secrets, a vast, dynamic canvas stretching across our world, preserving fragments of time that challenge every established narrative of human beginnings. We have delved into the deep, examining the geometric structures of Yonaguni, the enigmatic lines of Bimini, and the submerged cities that whisper of ancient deluges. Each discovery, each compelling argument pushes us to the very edge of our understanding, asking us to reconsider the foundations upon which our history is built. But these are only the first few glimpses into a realm far more vast and mysterious than we can yet comprehend. The real work, the profound unveiling, lies ahead, at the true frontiers of ocean exploration. For centuries, our knowledge of the deep ocean was limited to scattered soundings and brave, but brief, descents. It was a realm of crushing pressure, eternal darkness, and unimaginable scale, far more alien to us than the surface of the moon. Yet today, the boundaries of this unexplored world are rapidly receding. New technologies are allowing us to penetrate the abyssal plains, to peer into the deepest trenches, and to map the colossal underwater mountain ranges with unprecedented clarity. The age of purely speculative mapping is giving way to an era of detailed scientific discovery, driven by a relentless human curiosity. Advanced deep-sea technology is the key that unlocks these hidden realms. Remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, once cumbersome and limited, are now agile, high-definition marvels, equipped with sophisticated sensors and manipulators that can perform intricate tasks miles beneath the surface. These machines can spend weeks submerged, patiently surveying vast areas, collecting data, and capturing images that were once impossible. Autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, take this independence even further, charting courses on their own, programmed to sweep through designated zones, identifying anomalies and potential sites of interest without constant human direction. Their endurance and scope are transforming how we approach deep-sea exploration, turning previously impossible tasks into routine operations. Beyond the visible spectrum, cutting-edge sonar and LiDAR systems penetrate the water column with incredible precision. Multi-beam sonar creates detailed topographic maps of the seafloor, revealing contours and features that hint at buried landscapes. LiDAR, using pulsed lasers, can generate three-dimensional models of objects with remarkable accuracy, even in murky conditions. These tools allow us to reconstruct environments as they existed thousands of years ago, before the ocean claimed them. They can differentiate between natural rock formations and structures that bear the unmistakable imprint of intelligent design, providing a crucial filter for future archaeological investigation. This technological leap allows us to move beyond mere speculation, turning vast stretches of the ocean into potential archaeological zones. The integration of robotics and artificial intelligence in archaeology marks a paradigm shift in our quest. Imagine a fleet of autonomous underwater robots programmed with advanced algorithms continuously scanning the seafloor. They learn to recognize patterns, to identify shapes that deviate from natural geology, and to flag potential ruins with a precision unmatched by human observation alone. AI can process terabytes of sonar data, comparing features to known architectural styles or geological formations, sifting through the noise to find the subtle signals of human intervention. These intelligent machines act as tireless scouts, expanding our reach exponentially, helping us to prioritize areas for closer human inspection. They are not merely tools, they are extensions of our search, pushing the boundaries of what is detectable and understandable. Yet amidst all this technological marvel, the irreplaceable element of human intuition remains paramount. While robots can identify anomalies, it is the human archaeologist, with years of contextual knowledge and an innate ability to recognize the subtle nuances of design, who makes the ultimate interpretive leap. That flash of insight, the recognition of intent in a seemingly random arrangement of stones, or the profound emotional connection to a forgotten artifact. These are experiences that cannot be replicated by even the most advanced AI. Human divers, despite the dangers and limitations, can bring a level of dexterity, observational skill, and problem-solving to an underwater site that no machine can fully emulate. It is the synergy between powerful technology and the unique human capacity for imaginative interpretation that will truly unlock the ocean's hidden libraries. With every discovery, whether it be a well-preserved structure or a scattered field of artifacts, comes the immense responsibility of protecting underwater heritage. These submerged sites are extraordinarily fragile. Changes in currents, accidental damage from deep-sea activities, or even unregulated exploration can destroy millennia of history in an instant. The crushing pressure, the unique chemical environments, and the lack of light have often preserved these ruins in a state unimaginable on land. But this preservation is delicate. The need for international cooperation, robust conservation strategies, and ethical guidelines for deep-sea archaeology is becoming increasingly urgent. We are not just uncovering history, we are becoming its guardians, entrusted with the careful management of a legacy that belongs to all humanity, and perhaps to a past we have yet to fully comprehend. And so we arrive at the profound question of our past, a question that deepens with every sonar ping and every ROV image. What if our linear understanding of human development, the neat progression from hunter-gatherer to farmer, from village to city, is incomplete? What if, beneath the waves, there lies evidence of advanced societies that thrived and fell at a time when we believed humanity was still in its infancy? The ocean, in its silent immensity, asks us to confront this possibility. It suggests that the story of human civilization may not be a single, unbroken line, but a cyclical journey marked by periods of advanced knowledge and subsequent loss. Perhaps even cataclysm. This enduring quest is more than an academic exercise, it is a search for our identity. If we find clear, undeniable proof of technologically sophisticated civilizations from epochs long dismissed as prehistoric, it would fundamentally alter our understanding of human ingenuity. resilience, and the very timeline of our species. It would mean that some of humanity's greatest achievements, its deepest wisdom, and its most intricate social structures may lie not in dusty land-based archives, but in the cold, dark embrace of the deep ocean. The water, the ultimate archivist, may hold the final chapters to a story we thought we knew, reminding us that the full narrative of our journey on this planet is far grander and far more mysterious than we have ever allowed ourselves to imagine. The future of exploration beckons, promising not just new discoveries, but a profound re-evaluation of everything we believe to be true about our origins, our capabilities, and our place in the long, unfolding saga of time.